I don't want to interrupt the beautiful music, but there is a car with a dog in it out in the parking lot, a Dodge with the back door open. Does anybody have a dog hanging out in their car? The back door is open. I think the dog is making a break for church. The back door apparently is open, so we just wanted you to know that. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. And we do hope that you feel at this time and in this place that it is a God-filled time together. We welcome you. We're glad that we're all together on this beautiful sunny Sunday morning. We have a few reminders for you this morning. Let's see what we got up here. Women's Fall Retreat, which is being hosted at the campus but in conjunction with Mount Royal UCW Women. Is that correct? Is that all? Yes. So if you are a woman and would like to hang out at the campus and have a beautiful day, I know last time I checked, I don't think we had any Visions people signed up for this retreat. So they are eager to hear from you if you are going to go. So please do call that in. Teen Jam is starting next Sunday night from 6:30 to 7:30, and we are planning a bunch of very cool tunes for the Anti-Bullying Sunday in November, in the middle of November for Children's Sunday. We're doing an anti-bullying week, so we've got a lot of very cool songs to choreograph. So if you are in grade 6 or up, you can join us for that night. Pancake breakfast. Come stuff your bellies and bring your company who descends on you for Thanksgiving weekend. Come and eat up there. And who do we see if we want to volunteer to help? Brian. Brian, if you would like to help, or if you're already plugged in, Brian's your man.
Or if you'd like to help the UCW at their bake table.
There we go.
All donations gratefully accepted. Pickles, if you've got pickles, jams, jellies, all those kinds of things, those are good sellers.
There we go. These are, and the roast beef dinner is November 1st from 5 to 6:30. Where's Joan? Do we need to does that usually sell out, that people need to get tickets ahead of time?
You should know if they want to come.
You should know if you want to come and if you're bringing somebody, because that does tend to zip right about, and we want to make sure that your bellies get full if you want to go. Those are both fundraisers, so we certainly ask that you help us promote those, pass on the word, and invite people to come. I have a few more announcements for you. One is that we are looking to start a youth group for Visions United, and we have an invitation to the yet-to-be-formed youth group to do a tree planting at the AWI on October 20th, which will be followed by a honkin' big bonfire, and will be very fun. We're doing that as well, grade 6 and up, with your families. So if you would like to join me, we're going to be planting about 20 indigenous trees at the Atlantic Wildlife Institute. It is a nationwide challenge to youth across the nation to do indigenous tree planting in their local area. So we are also invited to make a short video clip of that and send it in. So it should be a really cool way to connect with youth across the country, and also do something really important for our environment locally. And you got to yell at somebody.
I still have lots of the extra leaflets that give you more information on where your mission and service dollars go. And I also have several mandate magazines, which are the mission and service magazines put out by the United Church of Canada. So I'll have these out at the table at the front of the generosity table afterwards if anybody would like one.
And now we have a very quick pop quiz. Hope you've all been paying attention the last few weeks. Next week is Worldwide Communion Sunday, which means all around the world, Christian communities everywhere are celebrating communion on the same day, with the idea that we are in solidarity and unity with all those around the world. In order to help us kind of connect with that, I would like to know a little bit about what cultural connections we have within this community. So, does anybody have in your own history, your cultural connection, different cultures? Like, for instance, I very much know that we are Scottish. So we have Scottish. What else do we have? Irish. Abenaki. Ukrainian. English. French. Polish. American. Did you hear that was good? American. You have to say that outside your face. I'd say that because I am one. There you go. adjourn. Anything else? What was that? Newfoundlander.
And a couple of Cape Bretonners.
Newfoundlanders and Cape Bretonners who stand alone in their cultural identity, eh? And what else? I have Norse over here. Dutch. Anyone else know your ancestry? Portuguese.
That's pretty unique.
John needs a drive home from church.
It was your birthday.
Wonderful, my friends. Well, thank you very much. I'd like to weave those cultures into our celebration of Worldwide Communion next week to kind of help us to connect around the world. So now I am going to ask that our boomwhackers come on up and launch us into a little bit of a walk down memory lane to Camp Tawasi from a few weekends ago. Our theme at Camp Tawasi was out of this world, finding your place in space. And the boomwhackers led us in a little bit of celestial connections. So we want to just take a quick little, oh, there we go, excellent. We want to just take a quick little ride through our memory lane here. This is Camp Tawasi for anybody who hasn't been there before, just less than an hour away from here, down near Murray's Corner at Murray's Beach. And there's our wonderful cabins. Oh, yes, sorry, and Kiona prepared this slideshow, and Avery and Jennifer took a lot of the pictures, as well as some of them are from Camp Tawasi website, and some of them are pictures that we took as well. Team badges, so you had to become part of a team of a crew and a spaceship. And some spaceships got very creative on who they were, and they had to claim their identity and name their captain. There were a few who were part of the hot flashes. And Linda did some fabulous crafts for us, connecting us with space. Kiona put down, I ate the moon. Campfire. Thank goodness. Get rid of all those nasty mosquitoes. The girls were dancing around the fire. Now, I need somebody up here for a minute to explain this. Who did this?
Graham did a song named Brown Squirrel. I'm guessing it was a song about a squirrel and a peanut and his nose.
You actually had to lift the peanut in your toes and lift it up to your nose each time in the middle of the song. So that's Graham Hansen doing his little brown squirrel, which was really quite fun seeing us all try to do that. Silly skits. We discovered some talent among some people that we didn't know. June Kelly is up for an Oscar from Tawasi. We had Camp Dog, Luna, aptly named for a camp about space. Lots of friends having fun around the fire. Vespers, where the mosquitoes attacked and you had to keep drawing your hats around. It's not cold. You'll see everybody's hats up. It wasn't the least bit cold.
No, it was warmer than ever, but mosquitoes, you couldn't walk around.
And what happened here, guys? What were you guys doing?
We played Quidditch.
Absolutely. And if you don't know what Quidditch is, shame on you. It's from Harry Potter, the best game in the world.
Who wouldn't know? Like, you have to read Harry Potter.
And normally this is on flying brooms. That's next year's camp. This year we were on the ground in Slytherin versus Gryffindor. Who won?
Green and red.
You'll notice a sign that was truly applicable to our time at camp. Many of us felt like we were being carried away. The food was fantastic, and apparently so was the mosquito cuisine. It was an awesome time, and we're certainly grateful for everyone who made that a great time. And it was a wow weekend, and so we invite you to share a little bit of your wows from this past week. Did anyone have a wow moment you want to share today? Any exciting events of this week? Woohoo! Yay, you! What a great system to reward awesome social behavior or conclusion. I had a well moment. I saw 2 moose on the road yesterday. I thought this was going to be embarrassing for me. I was out on my bicycle, and I came around a bend, and there was a cow moose in the middle of the road. And my first thought was, she's beautiful. My second thought was, it's rut season, and I'm on a bicycle. And moose have really poor vision, and I could very easily look like another moose. And so I wasn't feeling too happy about that, so I circled back around thinking, well, if I get out of the way, she'll stop looking at me as if, what are you, and do you smell right and look right? And I came back around, she's still there. I did that about 3 times. The last time I came around, she was joined by a bull with a full rack. So then now I'm really thinking, how fast can I bike in the opposite direction? And they're just still kind of, hello, but they're in the middle of the road, and I'm getting nervous about cars coming and going. So fortunately, this big, huge half-ton truck comes down the road. Maybe it's a great big truck coming down the road, but barreling down the road. So I'm standing there flapping my wings, trying to stop this truck so he doesn't have a nasty accident. And of course, that scared the moose into the woods anyway. And it was so wonderful to be able to see the moose. It was even more wonderful to be able to drive home very fast on my bike. Anyone else have a wow moment? Woohoo! You have to look under furniture for him from now on. Any other wows? Wonderful. Oh, one more. School pictures are over. You can now look normal again. Don't have to brush your hair until next fall.
homeschooled, I don't have a lot of activities, I guess, to go to. So there's a group called MASH that I usually go to, and we were going on a bird watch, and we went to so we were walking through and we were like, this is pretty and it's nice. And then we came to a big river, and it was so pretty. It had a waterfall, and it had ducks, and the trees were all colorful, and leaves were falling, and it was really pretty.
Well, we certainly. Oh, another one. Congratulations. Well, we invite you to look through this week, be open to all the God moments that are before you and all the God moments that you can create. Because indeed, the light of Christ shines, and you, my friends, are alive with the light. Let us take a moment and enter this time in prayer. Holy and wise and wondrous Creator, you who paint the colors in the sky and all around, and within us and through us, we can see your beauty. Open us to this time together. Help us to see the color and beauty in each other and in all you seek to create in and around us. Help us to follow and find the ways that you are opening up to us to live deep and rich lives in this moment and beyond. And may we truly be alive with light. Amen.
Come and seek the ways of wisdom. She who danced when earth was new. Follow closely what she teaches, for her words are right and true. Wisdom clears the path to justice, showing us what love can do. Listen to the voice of wisdom, crying in the marketplace. Hear the word they
wondering if I can snag the kids for a minute just before you head out to Dream Team, because you're going to be heading right out in just a moment. But I need you to help me remember something from last week, and if you weren't here last week, we want to remind you about what happened last week. I'm wondering if those of you who are kids up there, if you can make your way down just before you head out with Linda and Tanya. I want you to think back to last week, because there was something wise that you did last week. Does anybody remember what you made last week? You guys weren't here last week. There's a couple of you that were here last week. Does anybody remember what you made last week? It was something a little bit odd to have made at church. What'd you guys make? What'd you say? What'd you make? Lemonade! How cool is that? Do you remember why you made lemonade? Anybody remember? Kiona, do you remember why you made lemonade? Do you remember why you made lemonade? To help with a disease. So maybe somebody can help. Grown-ups, reminder, what did you do in the cafe last week? Alzheimer's cafe. So Alzheimer's is a disease of the brain that often happens in older years, not with all older people at all, but in some people, part of the brain actually shrinks away, and that person has a hard time remembering things, the memory part of the brain. So it'd be great if it was the part of the brain about chores, right? When you could forget chores. I'm sorry, I can't remember to take out the garbage. But it's not quite like that. Or the compost. Yes, we don't like taking out compost in our house. But that those people have a hard time remembering things. And that's very, very frustrating. Part of your brain won't remember things, right? And we need to be able to help people in that situation to have all the things that they need. But mostly we need scientists to do research to help find out why does this happen and how do we help people who it happens to, right? We want that for every kind of disease, don't we? We want cures, and it's good if we can help scientists. So what happened last week, if you weren't here, the kids made homemade lemonade, and then people here made donations for a couple lemonades. So to get out of church last week, you had to buy a cup of lemonade. That was the deal. And between the lemonade and the coffee that we had in our cafe first, people made donations there and made donations for the lemonade. We raised so isn't that great? Woohoo! Well done. Off to the Alzheimer's Society to help them take care of people with that disease. So I want to thank you for your part in that, and also to help us all to remember that we are here to take care of each other, and that's a very, very important thing to do. So you guys are going to head out with Linda and with Tanya. There's Tanya. And go off to Dream Team, and we're going to sing you on your way with a little "We Will Go with Joy" with the Ho Ho song. Let's go. Here we go.
We will go with joy. Ho, ho, ho. We will go with God. We will go with joy. Ho, ho, ho. We will go with God. On this day of great joy, we will go with God. On this day of great joy, we will go with God.
And now I invite you to open yourselves to the words of wisdom that we find in the scriptures, the stories and lessons of long ago recorded and gifted into future generations, that we might see and experience God in the now.
Now, this story is a story about Lazarus. Now, this isn't Jesus' friend Lazarus. This is a different Lazarus. But he was a rich man, and he had everything. Purple clothing of the finest quality and highest fashion, gourmet meals every day in this great big huge house. Just outside his front gate lay this poor homeless man named Lazarus. Now Lazarus was covered with ugly skin lesions, and he was so hungry he wished he could scavenge scraps from the rich man's trash. Dogs would come and lick the sores on his skin. Ugh. The poor fellow died and was carried on the arms of the heavenly messengers into the embrace of Abraham. Then the rich fellow died and was buried and found himself in the place of the dead. And in his torment, he looked up, and off in the distance, he saw Abraham, and he saw Lazarus in his embrace. And he shouted out, "Father Abraham, please show me mercy. Would you send that beggar Lazarus just to dip his fingertip in some water and cool my tongue? These flames are hot, and I'm in agony." But Abraham said, "Son, you seem to be forgetting something. Your life was full to overflowing with comforts and pleasures, and the life of Lazarus was just as full to overflowing with suffering and pain. So now it's his time of comfort, and now it is your time of agony. Besides that, there's a great canyon that separates us, and nobody can cross over from our side to yours, or from your side to ours." "Father Abraham, I beg you," the formerly rich man continued, "send Lazarus to my father's house. I have 5 brothers there, and they're on the same path I was on. If Lazarus warns them, they'll choose another path and won't end up in this torment." But Abraham said, "Well, why send Lazarus? They already have the law of Moses and the writings of the prophets to instruct them. Let your brothers hear them." "No, Father Abraham," he said, "they're already ignoring the law and the prophets. But if someone came back from the dead, well, then they'd listen. Then they'd change their way of life." But Abraham answered, "If they're not listening to Moses and the prophets, they won't be convinced even if somebody comes back from the dead."
Every mountain, every sea, every flower, every tree, all these blessings created by our loving Lord. As a gesture of His love, He sent His Son from heaven above. Lift your voices, sing His praises in a joyful chord. For His sun will shine with the light divine, spreading His love, spreading His peace on every creature, bird and soul. This gift of love sent from heaven above, it was the greatest gift of all. The beauty everywhere, for the bounty that we share, for these blessings we sing praises to our Lord above. For His holy Son so strong, the Redeemer of us all, we are grateful
Do you remember high school? Some of you, it's way too close. You remember it very well because you're in it almost every day. Some of you, it might be far, far back in the memory. I think high school was really the true separatist party. It's where everyone feels judged and separate from everyone else, or at least that's what I remember from my high school days. In my high school, there were corridors, and there was what we called the jock stop. And I swear these people were 8 feet tall, honest to glory. Yeah, Jennifer was up. Yeah, see, she remembers. These people are 8 feet tall, and I swear they take over the whole wing just by their aura of, I'm here, you know. And then we had the druggy door, the back door of the school. Oddly enough, really the friendliest entrance to the school. It was an incredibly mellow way to enter school. Then we had the artsy-fartsy wing, which was kind of the groovy music people who were really a group of high achievers and tend to be all the really hyper-smart kids as well. So that was a little exclusive to some of us, even if we were a little bit artsy. All these kind of separate divisions within the school. That's what I remember. I remember most people scared to death of not fitting in. Like there was some kind of master code that someone knew and determined who fit in and who didn't. So it's been a little bit unusual to me to become a student, somewhat, at Moncton High School. Because the concept of normal is a little bit different at that school. The concept of normal is kind of like whoever you are. That's what normal is. Whoever you are. That's different than me. That's all good. And all around the school, up and down the corridors, there's teachers have quotes pasted all over the place to that regard about how to be prideful in who you are and how to be accepting of someone who might be different than who you are. It's a whole different concept of normal, which is really very, very impressive to me. And it's very fun to hear some of the grade 9s as I ask around, you know, what's it like being new to high school? You know, and there isn't a sense of divisiveness that I had experienced. So the other night when I was there for Meet the Teacher night, I really think that was the teachers checking out all the parents, make sure that we're really up for this game. I was really delighted at a quote that I saw on one of the door beside one of the teachers' doors. And I want to share that quote with you for a moment because it is from one of the greatest thinkers of our era. Jim, put up my slide. Everybody is a genius. If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Let's look at that from someone else's perspective. Have you been the fish? Have you been the one in the tree? Probably. Perspective. Perspective of ourselves and of others. Perspective. This fable that we heard this morning of Lazarus and the rich man kind of puts us into this quote, really. Luke is interested in us looking at the Pharisees and has them very much categorized as the wealthy people, the power people. And in this story, the whole reason this story happens that Jesus tells about Lazarus, this fable, is because there's all these questions going on, and he's trying to help people to open up their perspective. He's trying to help them to see from a different vantage point than just their own. Now, there's a little bit you have to understand here about the Pharisees are considered by Luke in this gospel as the money lovers. And more than that, they think that their wealth, their health, their status, and their economic abundance and success is completely a reflection of God's favor. So as if, if you're doing great, God loves you. And conversely, disease or poverty and social disgrace is all connected to God's punishment. So this is their vantage point. This is their perspective. And we are invited to walk into that in this story. So here Jesus in this story is challenging people on their assumption as to who belongs where. The Pharisees, those with the greatest social power, versus Lazarus, one with none. Now the story plays out a little bit differently for these poor Pharisees, because lo and behold, in the afterlife, the tables turn. And suddenly all the assumptions that the rich man has come kind of crumbling down, and he realizes that his perspective perhaps was not the best one, and that he really didn't see life correctly, if you like, or he certainly didn't see things in a God way. He really missed the story of his life completely. This week I was reading a little bit from a resource called Seasons Fusion, and here's what they say, and I think this is really very insightful. God sees Lazarus even if the wealthy man does not. So just hang out with that thought for a minute and put the word you in there instead. So God sees you, the truth of who you are, even if other people do not. And the parable's key concern here is not the man's wealth, but the fact that his wealth and social status are actually inhibiting him from seeing compassion. And it isolates him from seeing the other people in need around him, and furthermore prevents him from recognizing Lazarus as his neighbor. So he identifies only through his own perspective those who are the same as him. Think about your own life for a moment. Who are you most comfortable with? Most of us are comfortable with those who look like us, think like us, and act like us, right? We get excited when we find another person who's very similar to us. It's less comfortable when someone perhaps looks a little bit different. And without even thinking it, sometimes there's that nifty little voice that's yakking away in one of our ears that gives us reasons why that person is the way they are. We may not truly have a clue why that circumstance or that person is the way they are. But we have our perspective that sometimes narrows in and doesn't see the whole picture. Think about it. Why might the rich man have failed to notice or feel any compassion whatsoever for this man sitting right on his doorstep? Why would people who seek and claim to be faithful fail to notice and have compassion for the neighbors standing right in their own need? What might be the reasons that we would choose not to help someone different? When I was in England recently, we were wandering through the towns of Cheltenham, and we learned something very quickly about Cheltenham. There are no road signs. So think about living in a city that has no names on the roads. I think like of every 6th block they put up one. But for the most part, there are nothing that tells you what street you're on. So if you're walking around town with a map and you're trying to find the street names, but there are none, that's a little bit tricky. And if you ask the locals, and I might have already told you this, if you ask the locals and they don't know the street names, that becomes even more confusing as to find a direction as to get to where you're trying to get to. So this was kind of the circumstance that I was in, and we were roaming around the downtown block and completely lost, and now a little bit late for where we were trying to get to. So we did what everybody should do, is grab a coffee and sit down and think about it. So we grabbed a coffee, and horrible coffee, sat down on a bench, and the only bench that was free had a bit of an attachment on the other end. And the attachment came in the form of a man who looked completely raggedy and was missing a great number of teeth and didn't look like perhaps he lived in a house all the time. And he started making fun of my cell phone, because I think I was trying to GPS my way around town. And he was kind of poking fun, and he said, I don't have a phone. And my sister said, well, you mean you don't have a cell phone? He goes, no, I don't have a phone. I don't need one. So he went on to kind of share a bit of his story. And the more he talked, I got to understand this man was actually really incredibly smart and incredibly insightful and quite wise. And it took me a little bit to kind of get over my perspective or my assumption of what his appearance meant. It didn't at all, I don't know what it meant, but it didn't mean what I thought it meant. And he actually knew exactly where we were going. Not only that, he knew exactly how to get us there and saved us time in our journey. He was really the only one in that downtown district that paid us any attention. And he was the only one that helped us out. It was a really good reality shift. And it was good as much as I like to think that my perspective is out here, how quickly it goes like this. A few years ago, the Occupy movement swept across North America. And its challenge and gift to our world was that it challenges us to notice what we think we already see. Isn't that a great statement? Notice what you think you already see. That there's somehow more there than what you really think is there. And to kind of shift that around a little bit, shake it down. It's kind of like the snow globe. You know why those are so much fun? Kids take them. You still pick them up if you see a snow globe somewhere? Yeah, right? Like you see the snow globe and you pick it up and you shake it, and then you sit and you just kind of mesmerized as everything falls back into place. But it does not fall back exactly the way it was. And the picture looks a little bit different than when you picked it up, right? Because you interacted with the picture. The Occupy movement challenges us to kind of live that Lazarus story, to kind of go right out onto the doorstep with that neighbor and to figure out why. Why is there this hungry, sick neighbor on my doorstep? Why? Why is that happening, and how am I a part of this? Am I a part of the problem, or am I a part of the solution? And if I'm a part of the problem now, is there a way that I can shift that now that my perspective has opened up? Can I shift that and become part of the solution? Perspective. What are we missing in our perspective, and how can we open that up to see more than what we thought we saw? I had a really concrete experience of that, which has absolutely no deep meaning, but very good story. Yesterday, walking down the street of Moncton, and I'm zipping down to the library, and this unidentified creature was walking on the sidewalk toward me, and I thought, that is the ugliest cat I have ever seen. Like, truly. I was like, is it a cat? Honestly, I mean, I was looking at this thing thinking, I have no idea what animal that is. And the closer it got, I think it's a dog. And, it was the size of a cat, the shape of a cat, but it definitely had a dog head. So I'm really still not sure what this creature was. But as it got close, it became fairly clear that this was a tiny little lap dog. And afterwards, I thought, why didn't I think, why is there a loose dog on the street? Whose dog is that? Does that dog need help? But I was so caught up in my gosh, that's a weird looking cat dog. Sometimes you're just not sure what you're seeing. We have an opportunity in life for a deeper, stronger, more powerful vision if we are willing to look at our perspective and push it out and to see what perhaps we thought we saw, but to see it through the eyes of deep and profound generosity, deep and profound openness, to let judgment slip away and to let opportunity rise so that no one has to ever live that statement. Maybe everybody comes out of the tree and hops in the lake and tries swimming around together, or maybe you just look at each other and say, hey, cool tree, hey, cool pond. Do you want to belong? Well, you do. Do you want others to belong? You have the permission to help them do so. Let's help erase separation and create normal as a place of acceptance and love. I want to invite you to help celebrate that diversity and the strength of community when we do weave ourselves together in those different ways. This is a wonderful little litany that again came from Seasons Fusion, which is a resource that we use within the United Church of Canada to look at ways that we can enrich ourselves. This is a litany where we just kind of go back and forth and claim our part in weaving together a beautiful story. We are a cloth of diverse colors, made from many gifts and graces.
We are the people flowing forth from Creator God, surprising ourselves with the things He can be done.
We are raw material for rewarding relationships as our lives interweave.
Contributing one to the other, holding each other firm when one is weak or breaking.
We are each worthy of being respected and cared for.
Essentials of matter, still in our unique texts, sources of laughter and sharers of tears.
We commit ourselves to work together.
That one day this world may be a place where all people live in justice, freedom, and peace.
Well, let's be a part of that story and extending our perspective and our welcome and our care of each other. And I'm going to invite you to pass the peace if you are comfortable. And you can just take a minute, turn to those around you, and simply say, may the heart of peace be with you. If you have a cold, you can just bump shoulders. And also with you. Peace be with you. Cute peace. As you're settling back into your chairs, we'll take a moment to pray together about those things that are within us that need our prayers this day. And we need to go back a tiny bit there, Jim. We have a PowerPoint slide that goes in there that will help us. The choir is just going to sing a little bit for us, and then we're going to pray, and then they'll sing a little bit in between our slides, and the slides will just provoke different prayers for us. ourselves, to help ground ourselves in a way that God is ever in us and guiding us. I'd ask you to pray. God of the past, accept the people that we have been and the baggage we drag behind us. God of the present, accept the people we are now and the potential that lies within us. God of the future, accept the people we could be and by your Spirit transform us. Now let us take a moment and pray for those who need our love. And I would just ask that you would offer your prayers up at this time for those who are near and dear to your heart, who need our support and energy. And pray especially today for Frances Finney, who is looking for a new home to move from People's Park into a nursing care facility, and we ask that she find the perfect and wonderful place to be. We continue to pray for Melissa, who is healing from tonsillitis surgery. You may offer your prayers as you are comfortable. Let us remember and see those who feel like the odd ones out. Let us take a moment to pray for all those who we perhaps don't see clearly, or who the world needs to be seen. Pray for countries who are torn through ethnic battles. Those who are still judged on their beliefs, their orientation, or their expression of identity. Gracious and loving God, we ask that you hear our prayers and help us to be the answers that the world needs in and through your light and love. Amen. One of the ways that we certainly reach out and care for the world is in how we give to this community, so that Visions United can reach out to this community in the north end of Moncton, across Canada, and throughout the world in our partnerships of helping and healing a broken world. You are a part of that, and we are deeply grateful for all that you do to sustain the work of this wonderful community. Let's take a time right now as we sing our commitment with this 2 verses of Take My Life. And you can stand or sit, whatever you're comfortable with. And let's just do this as a kind of a prayerful dedication of our lives. Give you thanks, O God, for being a part of this circle of generosity where the gifts you give are shared through us, and then we become both givers and receivers to help heal and bring hope to your world. Amen. And as you go from this place, may the God of hope fill your being, work through you, and guide you in a way of broad and transformative living for you and for the world around you. Go and be the hope that the world needs. Amen.